Welcome back to the Aussie Shed, ladies and gentlemen. Dyno day is finally here. Currently waiting on the tilt tray to come and pick it up and take it up to the dyno. So bear with me, folks. We're just hanging around for a bit, waiting for the tow truck. We have arrived at the tuners. I've just been hit with a bit of bad news, folks. Unfortunately, because of the COVID, they won't let me hang around and do any filming while the car's on the dyno. So I'm going to have to leave the car and pick it up later on, which kind of sucks a bit. But what do you do? Just the way things are at the moment. Alright, I guess I'll get back to you when it's all done. See you shortly. So I've had the car back now for probably at least a week, folks, since the tune. Everything went really great with the tune. The tuner had no issues with any mechanical problems with the vehicle. We didn't run out of injector, we didn't run out of fuel pump. There's plenty of headway in all of those things. It just performed really well on the dyno. The only issue that we did have, unfortunately, was a bit of slip with the 5AT. The tuner that I've been using, he is a really good renowned tuner, but he doesn't have a whole heap of experience with uprev, and particularly tuning automatics. I had a few discussions with him and he did make some changes to the torque tables that control the line pressure on shift and how well it holds and all that sort of stuff. And he did mostly eliminate the slippage that we're having on the dyno, but we decided to leave it where it was and not sort of push things at this stage. However, in the future I am planning on taking things a little bit further. So you can see, I'll just hold this sheet up here. The first pull there was on gate, which is about 8.5 psi. It made pretty much 350 kilowatts at the wheels, and that's where we're having a little bit of slippage. So this is where we started sort of chatting about stuff. So he made a couple of adjustments, and I wanted him to bring the boost controller online just so that we could make sure that I had all the gates plumbed properly and that the boost controller was functioning correctly, which it all is, fortunately. And we put another sort of PSI in it, so that's on almost 10 PSI. It's doing almost 368 at the wheels, which is almost 500 horsepower. I think it's about 498 or something horsepower at the wheels. But mind you, this is on a hub dyno, so make of that what you will. But that's the sort of the output from it at the moment at almost 10 psi. Well, at least I got a pic of her sitting on the dyno, folks. You can see she's there, all hooked up to the hub dyno and everything. But best I can do, unfortunately. Sort of sucks a bit, but we're at the mercy of the COVID. Bloody COVID. Since getting it back and having a few drives of it, I noticed straight away on driving it back from the tune that the transmission was really soft. I did shift kit this myself probably about 5 years ago, and it was really good and really positive. But because when you change your injector size, which adjusts your base fuel schedule in your tune, that's the main reference that your transmission uses to adjust torque converter lockup and line pressure and everything. The transmission had gone super soft. The shifts were really, really soft, and I could feel that it was still actually slipping. I took it out and logged it, and it still had a little bit of slippage, so I thought I'll have a bit of a fiddle with it myself because I've got a bit of an idea how this sort of works. So I started mucking around with the torque tables, and there are a few different ones that you can sort of fiddle with. I'm not finished with it yet, but I've got it to a point where it shifts just as firmly as it used to now, so it's got a really nice positive shift. The torque converter seems to be locking up properly, and so far I've only logged it once, but I don't appear to be having any slippage under boost. But that being said, I've got severe tyre issues with the vehicle, which I pointed out right at the beginning of the build, that my tyres are really old. I was just going over the suspension on the car when I was sort of stripping it down to start this sort of build on it, and I mentioned how old my tyres were and everything. Part of my problem's been in this last week not being able to get a real handle on things just because of the amount of wheel spin. My tyres, they're Michelin Pilot Super Sports, but they're really, really old. I've had them on the car for a really long time. So tyres are knackered, they're hard as a rock, and basically all the car does in first, second and third is wheel spin under any kind of acceleration. Like even a mild bit of pedal in third gear will just break traction and send the car sort of sideways. You know, it's just very unpredictable and very uncontrollable. So I've been doing something which I almost never do in the vehicle, is I've been driving with the traction control on, and I hate the traction control. If you drive things like this, you really should understand and be able to actually drive them without the aids of technology to stop you crashing the things. So I've been driving it with the traction control on, and it just gave me the shit so bad because as soon as you just put your foot down even slightly, the traction control would cut in and the car would go soft and then recover. You'd put your foot down and it'd go soft and recover again, and it was just absolutely horrendous. Basically, the car was slower off the line than it was before I turboed it. I'd already purchased some Toyo R888Rs, which are about to go on the car, but I didn't have any wheels set up for them. And the reason I didn't put them on straight away is because I've had another set of wheels here for a while. The wheels that are on the car are actually a set that I bought second hand, and I repaired them and painted them up in the colour that I'm using for all the highlights. So I've had my original wheels sitting on the shelf for quite a while, and what I've been planning on doing is making up a square set so I can run the same tyres front and back, and be able to rotate the tyres and get a little bit more use out of them and everything. So this all relied on me painting my other set of rear wheels, which I had started doing, and I think they were in primer when I got it back from being tuned. But we've also had some pretty shitty weather, and I just paint outside, and the weather hasn't been good enough for me to finish painting the wheels. It's just kind of thrown a big spanner in the works, which is why I haven't had this video out sooner, and I must apologise to you guys out there, folks, who have been waiting for this video. I've just had lots of little hiccups, nothing major to do with the vehicle, but just lots of little hiccups with logistics and timing and everything to just be able to get this out on time. So I've just finished painting my wheels. I'll take you over and show them to you. So these are the other set of rears I've got here, folks. So as you know, if you know these vehicles, these are 19 by 9s. They're painted in a colour that I've already got on my wheels, and I've been using as a sort of highlight colour on my vehicle. I think it's Nissan K11, it's a GDR colour. You can see the wheels are painted inside and out. They came up pretty good. Had one warm day, folks, and I just jumped on it and got them sort of painted. So you can see the R888Rs are sitting there, the wheels are there. I'm booked in tomorrow to get the wheels and tyres put together, and hopefully once they're on, we'll be able to take the car out for a bit of a spin and give you guys a bit of an idea what it's like. And just for curiosity's sake, folks, I'll give you a look at my old tyres. Let's have a look. These are the tyres, folks. Just see if you can actually see this on the camera. But they're actually starting to crack. Where are we? Oh yeah, you can see it there. See how it's just starting to crack around that edge there as we go around. Really hard to kind of to just sort of notice that, particularly when the car's sitting down over the tyres. Currently the vehicle's sort of half on the hoist and it's sitting up off the ground. You know, normally the top of the tyre is hidden by the wheel arch, but yeah mate, they're bloody hard as a rock, eh? It's just absolutely hopeless. So, not for too much longer. So bear with me folks. We'll get these tyres on tomorrow. Hopefully the weather's on our side and we can go and give this thing a bit of a spin, which I'm really keen to do because I really want to do some data logging and really get stuck into this transmission. Just because with the minor adjustments that I've made and the amount of adjustment that I feel is available within the uprev tables, I think I can get the transmission to work pretty good. But I guess we'll see. I might just be fooling myself. But I certainly am in no position to really push the transmission with those tyres because, you know, it's pretty hard to load the transmission up when all the car does is wheel spin. And we'll see where we go. So I'll see you shortly, folks, and hopefully we'll have some new tyres on. Fantastic news, folks. We have tyres. So, I think it's about time we start this sucker up and head out for a bit of a test drive. So there you have it, folks. That pretty much winds up the DIY twin turbo build of my Nissan 370 GT. If you followed along from the beginning, you know that quite a lot was done to the vehicle, and the beauty of it all was I was able to do absolutely everything myself other than the final tuning. So it's always very satisfying doing stuff like this. And me as a lifetime car builder, it's always a really great feeling when something like this comes together as well as it has. I'll just pop the bonnet. So you can see under here, folks, everything's back together with the dummy airboxes. It all looks pretty standard. At the moment, I still don't have the under tray on underneath it because I have had the under tray off as a way to keep track if there are any potential leaks of anything, because the tray being on there will potentially mask, little drips and drops and stuff. So, but it's dry as a bone underneath. There's absolutely no leaks at this stage. I have done a few Ks and I've probably done about maybe 300 or 400 Ks now, and I've taken it for about a 200k round trip on the highway, and I'm very happy with how it went on the highway. The exhaust has no drone to it whatsoever, which is fantastic. As you can probably tell from the videos, it's pretty quiet. Not as quiet as it seems in the videos, but it is still pretty quiet, which, speaking of audio, I must apologise for a bit of the audio when I was doing the in-car footage. I've bought a new camera so that I can do more in-car footage, and I've got a GoPro that I'm mounting on the car, which you would have seen, and I'm new to all this sort of stuff. It's all been a bit of a learning curve for me, which has added to all of the reasons why this video took so long to sort of come out. There's been all sorts of little issues on my end, nothing to do with the car, just me getting my act together to get everything sorted so that I could get this out and not have it just be disappointing. I really wanted to do some in-car footage. I haven't had access to a camera that would be able to do that, so I've had to sort of set myself up with the gear to be able to do this sort of thing, and hopefully be able to bring future videos of the car driving and some on-track driving and all that sort of thing. Obviously there's still more work that I am going to be doing to the vehicle. I am data logging pretty much every time I drive it, and I'm making little tiny tweaks to little various things, nothing really to do with the main aspect of the tune, but just things like cold starts and warm starts, and a lot of the transmission stuff. I'm really trying to find where the sweet spot is with the transmission as far as the firmness of the shifts, torque converter lockup, trying to minimize any slip to try and make the transmission hold up as best as it can with the power that the thing has. So as you would have seen from the dyno chart, it's putting down about 500 horsepower at the wheels, which is quite fast for a street car. It's definitely not a race car, it is a street car, which is what it was always meant to be. And there are not too many cars around that are putting down 500 horsepower at the wheels. The video that I shot, all the in-car video and everything, is quite deceiving. It doesn't really give any kind of true representation of how aggressively the car accelerates and what it actually feels like when you're driving the thing. It just has torque on tap. I've driven a lot of big V8s in my time. I grew up on muscle cars and things like that, and that's the beauty of large capacity engines, is the amount of torque that you have available, which is just increases the driving pleasure so much, which is the big pull with large capacity engines. This thing feels like a very large V8 when you drive it. From around 2000 RPM up, you basically have boost on tap. It cruises off boost, but as soon as you squeeze the throttle at all, it builds boost almost instantly, and it just is such a dream to drive. The only way I could really describe it is it really has authority. It's definitely not a car that you would want to take up the challenge with in a mild performance vehicle, because this thing would literally hand you your ass. Sure, there are lots faster cars, but they're very few and far between, and this is just fast in all kinds of ways. For me, it's a really good package. It handles extremely well. It's very, very comfortable to drive. The brakes are really good. Once again, all in the capacity of a street car. For me, it's turned out exactly how I wanted it to. But ladies and gentlemen, this is far from the end of this vehicle as far as its development goes. The twin turbo side of the build is now completed. but it will always be under constant development while I own it, which will be quite a long time. So I already have plans to do other things to it. I'm about to pull the rear suspension cradle and make some upgrades. It already has quite substantial suspension upgrades to most of the vehicle. It's running probably half the SPL catalogue, MCA coilovers, you know, white line sway bars and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I have a whole heap more upgrades planned for the rear axle assembly, which I'm currently waiting on parts for. And in the meantime, I have work that I'm doing on the Mustang that I've got one video out, and I'm also going to be doing a bit of work on my workshop. I'm going to be upgrading my 20-ton press, running airlines throughout the workshop. There's videos coming up on all kinds of stuff, but the 370 GT will continue to be a development project. As I say, it's just a matter of me working out where I'm going with it, with different things. So anyway, folks, I think I'll leave it there. As I say, thanks a lot if you've followed this build from start to finish. It's been a real pleasure having you here with me. I've got lots of really great comments on YouTube about what I've been doing, which makes me feel really great. I just hope that some of the work that I've been doing here has been helpful to you guys, and you know, I've been able to show that, you know, if you have a bit of common sense and a reasonably set up workshop, you can actually do so much of the work yourself. Yeah, sure, you probably can't do everything that I do yourself, because I've been doing this for a long time, folks, let's face it, and I've got a pretty good setup. But there are certainly aspects of what I've done that everyone can do. I'm always no further away in the comments section, folks, so if you've got any questions to ask me about the build or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment. Remember to subscribe from the channel, because there will be lots more coming up on this car and other projects. And once again, thanks a lot, folks, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.